You were there. I understand, and you can tell me if this is correct, that the attack happened overnight, and as of 9 in the morning, you had actually left your room to go somewhere because you hadn't been told that it had happened. Is that correct?
Well, the swimming events in the Olympic Games in 1972, the opening ceremonies was on a Saturday, and the swimming program lasted for 8 days. It started on a Monday. I swam Monday through Monday. The only day I didn't swim was on a Friday. I swam in the very first event of the Olympic program. I also swam in the very last event. I was in the water 15 times racing. There was two reporters, two people that were very close to my career. One was Heinz Klutmeyer, who was a photographer for Sports Illustrated, so he had shot me on several of the covers. They decided to take me out for dinner the evening that was my last event on Monday evening, and another gentleman named Jerry Kirschenbaum, who was actually a writer for Sports Illustrated at the time, had followed my career for about 5 years. He then went on to become the actual editor of Time magazine. But they took me out to dinner in a real nice restaurant in Munich, and we got back around midnight because I didn't get through swimming with doing all the drug testing and doing what I had to do and get back to the village and then change. We didn't go out until about maybe 8:30 or 9. I stopped doing press conferences because when you win a gold medal or you win any medal, there's always a press conference. Most people only compete in one event, so they're happy to do the press conference. But for me, after 4 days of competition, that press conference just added to the time that I didn't really have to get back to the village and then basically eat my dinner late at night, go back to sleep, and then start the process over again the next day because I was in events every single day. So the swim officials from the United States made an arrangement with the International Olympic Committee that I wouldn't do any more press conferences after this Wednesday, after I had won 5 gold medals, and that this press conference that they were going to have, regardless of how I did for the remainder of the events, would be on Tuesday morning, 9 o'clock at the press center, which was adjacent to the Olympic Village. So I woke up at 8 o'clock, went and had breakfast with the swim coaches and the president of the United States Olympic Committee in the commissary. And we got in the little Volkswagen bus at 8:45 to drive out of the village and around and over to the press center. And when I arrived at the press center, the two people that greeted me immediately when I got there was Heinz Klutmeyer and Jerry Kirschenbaum. They said, "Well, have you heard what's happened?" He says, "Because there's I think 2,500 press people in this room. It's overcrowded. It's like a news event. Supposedly there's been some terrorist activities in the village, and there's a lockdown in the village, and nobody knows what's going on. They're going to want to know if you saw anything." I walked from where the Americans were, and we were housed, past Conleystrasse, which is the actual street that was named in this apartment complex of the village that was way down, maybe about, let's say, 500-600 yards where the incidents actually took place. But everything seemed to be normal at that time. The terrorists were actually inside. What we know now, history says that this was about 3 or 4 in the morning, and they killed 2 people and threw one of them out into the walkway there. A guard came by and they removed the body. We had no idea that had happened. It was just like another day in the village. So there was not one question at the press conference about my swimming at the Olympics, and obviously there shouldn't have been, because everybody was just wondering what was taking place at the time. By the time we got through the confusion, it was about 9:20. I went into another room. The room I went into was what you just saw, Jim McKay, with that yellow background. And he interviewed me for about 15 minutes, and that was obviously gone to tape that would be broadcast that evening. And then he and I, as we saw the monitors, this guy come out on the balcony with the white hat. There was another scene that wasn't what was depicted right now, but this guy had a profound hat on, and he was talking to a hostess, which turned out later to be a crisis negotiator. At that time, I was met by the State Department and had full-time security because they were concerned not only for maybe what might be happening to me, but they didn't know whether or not there were other terrorists disguised as athletes in athletes' outfits still running about in the village. There was a tremendous amount of confusion. So about 10 o'clock, I made it back to the actual village, into my room. If I can backtrack just a second, the swimming community was going to a thing called the FINA Gala, which was in Garmisch-Partenkirchen, which is about 30 miles south of Munich, to a big FINA Gala, and they were all getting into buses at noontime.
Just to let everybody know, FINA is the International Body of Swimming, so that's why all swimmers would go.
But I wasn't going, because before all this happened, I was already 1 week late for dental school. And I was actually leaving that evening to go back to Chicago and then back to Indianapolis. That obviously didn't happen. And when I got back to my room, there was Willy Brandt, who was the Chancellor of Germany, standing in my room. And about 20 minutes later, my father showed up because he sent a helicopter for him, because he was staying in Garmisch-Partenkirchen, my two parents. And they assured everybody everything would be great. And I was already packed, because I was supposed to leave like at 2 in the afternoon, and now it's about 10. There was TV going on, and it said that Mark Spitz, they were concerned about where I was, and it said that I was in Italy. Then it said I was in Switzerland, and I was everywhere but where I really was, which was in the village. At 5 o'clock in the evening, it was determined that they would move me to the airport and take me to London. They threw an army blanket over the back seat, and I got down on the floor and with my coach, and we were driven out of the village, because all of the press was outside the village trying to get any information they could gather as to what was going on. And I got to the municipal airport, was taken to London, met by security that was arranged through the State Department of the United States, and also through a coordinated effort with the people in Britain. And I was taken to a hotel. And not until the morning when I woke up did I discover what had really taken place, like the rest of the world. It was scheduled for me to take this picture of me with my medals in the swimsuit in the morning, and then I was on a plane. This is Tuesday now. Actually, it's Wednesday morning. I was on a plane ride at around noontime back to Los Angeles, and then I was taken off the plane. Nobody was supposed to know I was coming, but the plane ride from Los Angeles to Sacramento, California, the whole plane was filled with press. And when I got to Sacramento, Ronald Reagan, who was the governor, met me, and I had Secret Service for 3 months. So my life changed, and the Olympic movement has changed because of that. To the unfortunate incidents that occurred. And I became the greatest thing that happened in sports at the time, associated with one of the greatest tragedies at the time, and in a funny sort of sense made me a bigger name.